Ladies and gentlemen, grab your magnifying glasses and start searching for hidden treasure. The latest inventory squeeze in the Toronto housing market has turned finding a home into a real-life game of Where's Waldo. With demand soaring and supply dwindling, house hunters are left scrambling to uncover any available listings before they vanish, like a magician's rabbit in a hat. It's a challenging time for buyers and sellers, but the reward may be worth the hunt for those who can navigate this tricky market. It's week 2 of April 2023. We are Fox Marin Associates, Toronto's most innovative and active brokerage in central and downtown Toronto. We aren't here to regurgitate boring stats. You can find those anywhere. We are here to share what we're seeing on the Toronto real estate market in real time on a weekly basis so you can be in the know and make informed decisions. If you're interested in getting an up-to-the-moment opinion on what is happening in Toronto real estate right now and learning about what's going down, boots on the ground, before it becomes a stat, then you're in the right place. My name is Ian Busher. I'm a broker with the FM team. Keep her number handy. This is Corey Marin, the in-house hype girl and resident expert listing broker. And last but never least, Mr. Ralph Fox, our analytical, investor-driven macro picture watcher. We do this every week, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and join us for the latest updates every 7 days. All right. Ralph, I'm going to start with you, just giving you the heads up here. Month over month, we track key data points to understand in real time what's happening in the market from a boots-on-the-ground perspective. We do this to better advise our clients on both the buy side and the selling side. Ralph, why don't you speak to what the trend lines are? I'm going to give you a topic and then ask you to speak about that specifically, if that works for you.
For sure.
Good with that?
Yeah, I'm totally good with it.
All right. Your first topic is
Go, Ralph.
price.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, there's an old saying, the trend is your friend. And I think that really depends upon whether you're a buyer or seller in this market. Certainly, if you're a seller, the trend line definitely currently is your friend. Looking at the trends from a high level, as we get into it, I think we're going to see three things. Prices are starting to rise month over month, and we're seeing that across all trend lines. Number two, we're seeing a tightening of inventories, and we're seeing property selling at a much quicker rate. And number three, again, might be still too early to stand up on the top of the mountains and yell that we've seen the bottom, but the trend lines are definitely supporting that. So that's really when we talk about data, we like to look at it from the big picture and then start to zoom in. And so going back to your first question, we're going to put up right now a month over month prices. So we're going to put that right up on the screen here. And this is for the entire GTA. Now, one of the things that's really interesting is that typically in real estate, because real estate is seasonal, we look at year over year to get a better understanding of what's happening in the market. However, when we have extreme situations like the one we've had over the last year, where you've had a 400 basis point increase in interest rates, that becomes a lot less meaningful. And really what we start to look at on a pricing standpoint is not month to month, but year over year. So you'll see the media purporting, prices are down 14%. But if you look at this chart here, what you'll see is that across all property classifications, from detached to semi-detached to townhouses to condos, prices are starting to rise. And it definitely looks like, as a through line, we probably saw the bottom in January, and now prices on all asset classes across the entire GTA are starting to tick upwards. Again, very different from what you're hearing in the news. If you look at the spread between semi-detached and condos, it's still quite wide, which seems to indicate that we should see more price activity in the low rise as people move from condos, two-bedroom condos, into starter homes.
Interesting.
Very cool. All right. Can we talk a little bit about months of inventory?
Well, I thought you'd never ask, Ian. This is probably, I would say, the number one statistic that we track month over month at Fox Marin. And the reason is because it gives a real finger on the pulse of what's happening in the market. So months of inventory, MOI, as we affectionately call it at Fox Marin, basically is a stat which shows if you took everything that's currently on the market and presume that nothing else came to market at the current rate of sales, how long would it take everything to sell? And so if you look at chart number 2 on the screen here, where we show months of inventory, you can see from January a dramatic drop from 3 months of inventory, which was a high, all the way down to 1.47 months. So that's a huge drop. And again, that's an indicative of prices having to rise because there's just very little inventory given the current rate of sales. So to give you a little bit of context here, in April 2022, so a year ago, we were at 1.64 months of supply. So we're starting to sell at a faster rate than the height of the market, which coincided with interest rates just starting to rise back in April 2022. So this is really, really interesting to see this type of a drop of months of inventory, and it's really indicative of what we're seeing boots on the ground in the market.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great segue into talking about days on the market, right? The limited inventory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that,
You guys
Ian.
are on. You guys are on today.
Yeah, I'm feeling Ian today.
I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone.
We're connected. I think we're in the zone.
I like properties on MLS.
Yeah.
I'm flying.
Yeah.
I am moving and shaking.
Amazing.
Okay.
Well, I got my eyes locked on you. If you look at this chart here, you'll see two numbers. One, listing days on market, and the other one stands for property days on the market. And so both you can see a dramatic drop in how long listings are on the market from 41 days down to 27, and property days on the market. Essentially what that means is if a property doesn't sell and relists, how long is a specific property on the market for? And so just to give some of our listeners and or watchers of our video podcast here, some context is that it's 2 to 4 months is considered balanced. So anything above 4 months is a buyer's market. So this really will indicate two really important things. One, properties are selling at an expedited rate since January, a dramatic change in the pace of the market and how fast properties are selling. And secondarily to that, very dissimilar or different from what the media is purporting, is we are very heavily in a seller's market by definition. And so I think it's really important to have this context as well to understand exactly where we are today and most likely where we are going to be for some time to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And last on my list here, I was going to ask you about transactions.
Yeah, for sure. So
what would you like to tell us about that?
We're going to look at this last slide here. I hate boring people, including myself, with slides. But again, you can see a thorough trend line here where you can see transaction activity basically bottoming out December 2022 and January 2023 in all asset categories from detached all the way to condos. And you can see now the amount of transactions taking off as well. So we're seeing more transactions. We're seeing properties selling much, much quicker. We're seeing very little inventory coming to market. And we are seeing prices starting to edge up. So very, very interesting times in the Toronto market. And I don't think anybody would have thought in December that this is where we'd be into early April.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I've got a laundry list of buyer clients that are frustrated, having a really hard time, and we're actually seeing things pick up where we used to wait until the weekend to go see things, and now it's like, no, when you see this or when I spot this, we've got to get there that afternoon, that evening, because it could be gone in a day or two versus having a bit more time like we used to. And Corey, you work with the sellers, a lot more sellers. What are they saying, seeing? What are you feeling? How is this impacting you doing your job?
It's a good question. Well, I'm fondly referring it to as the Mexican standoff that we're in right now. So this means I feel like we're caught in a cogwheel. We have these incredible sellers all lined up with beautiful properties or ready to go to market, or they're working towards getting ready to go to market, and a wide variety of properties. So a renovated townhouse. We've got a few beautiful semis, a couple of great properties in Plater Estates. Everyone's ramping up to sell with the intention of buying first and then selling second. So we always like this theme of the chicken or the egg here at Fox Marin. So the intention is buy first and then sell afterwards. But there is no inventory, as we just saw in the graphs to prove this, no opportunities or real opportunities or gems for these families to make moves. So they're waiting to find something to buy so that they can sell. So we have a nice roster of sellers that are anxious to make a property ladder move and can't. And it is interesting because none of these sellers have to sell, but they're making strategy moves for whether it's families assimilating, that perhaps have kids from two separate families and they're coming together as a new family, school district changes, some need a little bit more size. And so there's no real immediate have to move. So it's they have the ability to wait and see and flush out what's going on. But at the same point in time, there's nothing to see. So we're kind of stuck a little bit, sort of between both worlds. And I think the thing that's so also interesting about it is a lot of these sellers at first were considering selling and buying because at the very beginning of this decision-making process, they thought there were going to be opportunities on the buy side. They're like, you know what, this is probably a good time to make this move because I'll be able to upsize or get a little bit more square footage or get us that, fourth bedroom, a backyard, whatever it is, change my school district. And there'll be opportunities out there because there were in Q4 and perhaps at the very beginning of Q1 of this year. And that window of time has now closed. So it's going to be very challenging for them. It's actually going back to the way it was before. Very challenging on the buy side, and then probably a little bit smoother on the selling side, and because of the lack of inventory, I'm not even worried about their sale now. I'm like, I think you're going to crush it on the sale side, actually, and all different price points. And so we're talking, that entry-level price point in the freehold market around the 1.2 mark up to about the 1.7 mark, all in that nice sweet spot. And so normally in a changing market, I'd be really stressed for the sellers. What if they buy something and then we can't sell it and they're stuck? I'm not even worried about their sale. And it's funny because I've done all of their pricing with a very conservative attitude. I'm let's just be safe with your pricing. I want to be very conservative. I want to make sure that you can afford what you're buying into. Let's double check with your mortgage broker. Let's triple check. Let's rerun the numbers, really staying on top of it. And now I'm like, oh my God, they're going to smoke these numbers, in my mind. So yeah, for us at Fox Marin and a lot of our selling clients, we're just sort of stuck. And I think a lot of probably agents and their clients are in this same groove right now. Are you guys feeling the same way?
100%. I was saying to Ralph earlier in the week, it's like one of those puzzles you had as a kid where there's one tile missing and you need to, in order to make the shape, you've only got one blank space and all the other things have to be moved around. And it's stuck. It's just stuck. That's really all it is. And I think it's those people, like you say, that have to sell that are putting things on the market where there's no need for them to buy. So it's a perfect time if you're a seller that isn't buying something. But yeah, trying to break in as a buyer anywhere is really, really tough. It's like trying to get into the nightclub with a long lineup.
Yeah, 100%. And you're feeling the same way with your buyer clients? And you work with a huge array of buyer clients at different price points. And you mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing? What are you telling your buyers? How are you keeping them motivated? What are you doing on a weekly basis? Tell us all about that.
We are going to see everything we can. Like I said earlier, going to see everything we can as soon as we can and watching what happens. The tricky part is it isn't just a matter of actually having the inventory, but it's actually having the inventory that you like, that you can see yourself living in too. So we might get half a dozen options every week for each buyer, and we go to them. But it's well, this one's needs a complete gut job reno, and this one isn't big enough, and this one doesn't have enough. There's always something. But when the market is surging with new listings, it's very easy to say, okay, well, that's okay. We had 6 today. We'll have 6 tomorrow. But in this case, it's frustrating because you get to Saturday and you've seen everything already. And next week, you're not going to be putting an offer in. So it's always fingers crossed that Monday, Tuesday, well, maybe next week. And that's what we keep saying over and over. It's frustrating.
And then there's a ton of buyers with that same sentiment and their agents.
Yeah. And it's agnostic to price point. Like we lost out last week. One of the agents on our team, there were 20 offers on a property that ended up selling at around $2.5 million on the West End. I mean, that typically does not happen at that price point. So we are seeing it everywhere right now, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be any immediate relief to this standoff, as Corey referred to it earlier.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So Corey, what advice would you give sellers right now who are dealing with this? Like, are they stuck buying, like, what are you telling them? How are you? I'm going to sort of send the question back to you. How are you kind of helping them to deal with this on an emotional level? Yeah.
Definitely 100%. Like, let's just get that checklist ready to go. And this is what I feel like. I'm not even a real estate broker right now. I'm a project manager. And we are like spending most of our time just trying to sort everybody out in terms of getting their properties ready to go on market. Because if that gem does come up and they happen to win that property in a bidding war scenario or a bully offer or whatever, they're going to want to like move on their sales side ASAP. And we all know, and we talked about this in our last episode, people just drag their feet when it comes to getting their properties ready to go to market. So really right now, me and our awesome listing coordinator are spending most of our time just getting everyone organized. And this comes from like everything from getting broadloom quoted to new hardwood flooring, painting quotes, landscaping quotes, gravel quotes for their driveways, accent wall decisions made, checking in on progress, like updating their Google Docs. Like we're just getting everyone set up and ready to move. And when they buy their property, we're going to be like ready to party. So I'm excited for our listeners to see what we have in the pipeline because we have so many great properties and there'll be amazing opportunities for buyers because we've got these gems that are just ready. They're like going to sizzle. So that's one way. And I think also, as I mentioned, some of these sellers aren't under duress to sell. Like they want to make this move happen, but they're willing to be patient, which isn't always music to our ears when people are like, I'm okay to wait for the right thing. So I think some of them might be in this scenario for like a good 6 to 12 months. And then I think what will be the motivating factor is just like the charts we referenced at the beginning, as prices start to surge up again, I think that's going to put a fire under people's, and fire people. I'm like the worst at these puns. Ian, can you help me?
They're going to light a fire under their asses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, something miming it. So I think that will really get people moving when they see prices are starting to go. I think that might ignite some movement and some action because I think people are very chill about it as well.
Yeah. With buyers, I'm already seeing that happen too. Is it's like, okay, we really need to be ready. We have to have a Red Bull in one hand at all times, and maintain a state of cat-like readiness to literally jump on something the second it makes a move. Like
the Red Bull in one hand. That's awesome.
Just like over-caffeinated, hyper alert.
Yes.
Don't go dark on me. Don't book a vacation.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere.
Yes.
Right? I need you to be here and be ready.
Yeah.
Keep the car running.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if crazy. Something comes out, like say something comes out and they can't see it, do you go to the property and tour it for them? And is that how you manage that? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question. I did that yesterday with 2 places for a client who was away for the weekend and another client who was just doing a family thing. And I said, I'm going to go preview it.
Yeah, I think what's going to be the real interesting shift in mindset is, I don't know, I think we have at least 6 clients, maybe 7 now, where they're in this position where life circumstances, life changes, life necessities are requiring them or pushing them to the point where they want to upgrade from where they are to where they want to be. And so what's really interesting is a lot of the calculation was if we are moving up, but we're in a period where prices are potentially going down, we have the opportunity to take the upside of the delta, meaning that if you're buying a house worth $2 million and the market goes down 10%, you're getting $100,000 or $200,000 discount versus the discount of $100,000 that you're taking on your $1 million home. And so people thought that or a lot of people were sort of intellectualizing, rationalizing, going through the numbers and saying, well, because we already are in the market and we have equity, we can take advantage of a downturn because there's more upside by buying up. And I think now when you have a very clear narrative that's about to turn, where prices are accelerating, it's the same thing, but it's on the other side, meaning that if you stay where you are, it's going to start to get harder and harder, especially with where interest rates are at, to make this move. And so I think you're going to have that as one part of the equation. And then I think you're going to have the other part of the equation. Oh, I can't believe they just got this on our street. Can you believe that the recent sale last week, $600,000 above list? How's that possible? And so all of a sudden you'll start to have sellers who might have been sitting on the fence starting to now think that this could be a good time to sell. So I still don't think there's any chance of a flood of inventory rushing the market, but I think it could open up some opportunities for buyers as well. So it's just ever since COVID, the map has always been shifting in Toronto real estate, and what you think you're going to be talking about 2 to 3 months from now is not necessarily what you end up talking once you get there. So really interesting time to be in this business, and never a dull moment, and always interesting conversations. But definitely we're starting to see that huge overarching shift in the motivation for people to make their decisions or move forward on a purchase or sale.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's really the reason for this video podcast, right? Is because getting information monthly about what happened from this month compared to, the month of the last year, it isn't good enough. And you know, we're all talking to agents within the team and even other agents that we know and like about what's going on out there and trying to get a sense of things because it's moving really quickly.
You're not going
to all agree.
You're not going to get this
to predict.
You're not going to get this information in Toronto Life. You're not going to get this information, in Maclean's magazine. So this is what's happening, and there's a real shift starting to take place, and it'll be interesting to see how things play out over the short term.
Absolutely. Guys, if you don't have anything else to add to this, I think that's kind of a good place for us to wrap up. Would you agree?
I agree.
I would like to know a little bit more about your scar, but maybe we can save that for the next episode.
I would like to maintain the mystery and
Yes.
And maybe even start the rumor that it really was a fight with another realtor.
I think
and
that's
we'll
good.
just leave it at that. We won't say anything about the fight I had with a tree, which it might also have been. But I'm going to leave it mysterious.
Okay.
Guys,
Okay.
thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good seeing you guys.
And I think we can summarize all this with it's difficult to predict right now, and there's a real stranglehold on inventory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
think
And
it's
Okay, I will see you next week. And I will ask you, as our viewer, to don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join us next week to find out what's going on, boots on the ground, with Toronto real estate. We're the Fox Marin team. See you soon.